11.
Stay tuned for an all-new Dateline, followed by the finale of Third Watch and Law & Order Trial by Jury. All new NBC Tonight.
Tonight, on an all-new Dateline, she was a dedicated cop, a beloved sister, now dead.
Part of us was killed when Lois was killed.
Murdered in cold blood.
911. There's an officer down.
Her killer, this man. He and his girlfriend had just robbed a bank. Surrounded, he refused to surrender. He didn't give himself up, and he didn't make it out alive, leaving his girlfriend to face police and a charge of murder. Was she as guilty as he was?
I'm not a murderer.
Though she didn't pull the trigger, she helped him rob the bank, had even posed with the murder weapon. But she insisted all along she didn't have a choice.
He was gonna kill me.
She says she never wanted any of it to happen.
And you're just looking at me like, why?
Tonight, a Dateline Court TV network exclusive. Was she just a helpless young woman controlled by a violent man, or a heartless killer trying to get away with murder?
Has the jury reached a verdict?
What would the jury decide? Keith Morrison looks at both sides of a deadly alliance. Dateline with Stone Phillips will continue in a moment.
Shoot it! Shoot it!
The Nikon Digital D70 is here.
Beautiful.
The world's fastest digital SLR in its class.
Did you get it?
I never miss. Buy a Nikon D70 now through June 30th and get this Epson printer free or $100 off select Epson printers with mail-in rebates. Nikon Digital, at the heart of the image.
It's the Stainmaster Flooring Fashion Premiere featuring Stainmaster carpeting, gorgeous new styles and colors, all with the advanced Teflon repel system. Plus preview new Stainmaster resilient flooring designs. See what's hot this season. For a retailer near you, visit Stainmaster.com.
Hey, Mom, Coach wants us to eat something good before every game.
That's great. So when's your first game?
Now? Oh.
With 8 essential vitamins and minerals, calcium and protein, Hot Pockets brand is balanced eating. On the go.
Hot Pockets!
Being an actress is torture on my hair and scalp. Sometimes it's waves on the beach, then it's stick straight on set. Torture.
Dryness, itchiness, irritation, and 100% of flakes are a thing of the past with Head & Shoulders. It's missing nothing. Its penetrating formula offers your hair and scalp complete care.
My hair always gives a great performance.
Today's Head & Shoulders. Surprise yourself.
It's a new season of shows.
They're loud.
Funny.
And smart. Anyone with a grain of sand for a brain can see that.
Saturday mornings on Discovery Kids
On NBC.
NBC Monday is all new with a New York versus LA fear factor. And this bombshell will face every LA woman's worst nightmare. A barrel of lard. Then it's an all-new Las Vegas with guest star Ashanti and her billionaire boyfriend John Lovitz.
I'm buying the Montecito.
And on an all-new medium, she's finally met her match.
You got the vision, don't you?
An evil medium. Fear Factor, Las Vegas and Medium, all new NBC Monday.
And now, with Deadly Alliance, here is Stone Phillips.
Good evening. In just a second, we're going to show you two very different photographs of a woman named Paula Gutierrez on trial for murder. The question for a jury and for you tonight is which picture best captures the real woman? If you believe the prosecution, she's a cold-blooded cop killer. If you listen to the defense, she's a meek young mother bullied into a life of crime by an abusive boyfriend. Who's the real Paula Gutierrez? Here's Keith Morrison with a Dateline Court TV exclusive.
It was hot in Tampa the morning it happened. It almost always is in July as the sun climbs up toward a sweltering day. Nestor DeJesus, or Chino as his family called him, jobless, broke, desperate, was agitated again. Chino's longtime girlfriend, 24-year-old Paula Gutierrez, felt a familiar dread build with the heat.
He woke me up, he says, get up, we're gonna go, get dressed.
They left their 2-year-old daughter, Ashley, with Chino's mother.
We got in the car, And that's when I started having those bad feelings again.
Across town as the sun rose, a cop named Lois Marrero was cruising through the early shift. Her younger sister Brenda was preparing to meet her for a weekend trip.
I woke up around 5 so that I could get a good 6 hours worth of work in before leaving.
Brenda was excited. Time with Lois, precious. Brenda had long lived in awe of her older sister's determination to succeed, her 19 years as a cop, her powerful belief in doing the right thing. The two were uncommonly close. So when a strange feeling descended, almost like a presence, it threw her.
I was sitting at my desk from my home office, and I totally lost focus.
Across town, Paula's focus was intense. Chino had already proved he was not above breaking the law, but where were they headed?
When did you find out you were going to a bank?
When we got there?
Into the parking lot?
Mm-hmm, the parking lot.
Paula and Chino entered the bank. Security cameras caught it all.
911, what's your emergency?
Yes, there's a bank robbery in progress.
Where?
Bank of America, right now.
Inside the bank, Chino ran behind the counters among the terrified tellers, grabbing as much money as he could.
I wanted to take off and run and just hide or go into a little hole. Just wanted it to be over, you know, just not be there.
In minutes, it was over. Chino and Paula ran for the car. A second shaken bank employee called 911.
We just got robbed. Hey, are there any injuries? No, but he had a gun.
And then, down it rolled, Chino and Paula's cascade of trouble. For one thing, their car. It was bright yellow. So easy to spot. Their escape was witnessed by a stream of 911 callers.
What kind of car was he driving? He was a yellow SUV.
And then the stolen money blew up. Exploding dye packets the bank had inserted in the wads of bills. Red dye burst out everywhere. Tear gas filled the car. Chino threw much of the dyed money out the window. It wasn't long before police tracked the suspects to their home in an apartment complex. Paula took a shower and says she heard Chino scream, "Let's go, now." Outside, Officer Lois Marrero, Brenda's sister, had been the first of several cops to arrive at the scene. A neighbor saw what happened next and called police.
I was outside waiting for someone to come home, and all of a sudden I saw these cops chasing this guy.
As Lois Marrero ran after Chino, she radioed for backup. Too late. Paula had followed Chino into the parking lot. She watched as he pulled the trigger.
911. There's an officer down right in front of my house. Someone just shot her right in front of me.
The 911 caller watched Lois Marrero die.
She's not moving, and all these cops are running around, and they're all crying.
Chino told Paula, "Pick up the cop's gun." She did. Then they ran to an apartment nearby, broke down the door, took its occupant hostage. Within minutes, the apartment complex was under siege. A hostage negotiator contacted Chino and Paula on the phone.
I know you want to do the right thing, Chino. We don't want to hurt you. We don't want to hurt your girlfriend.
He told them, "Think of your daughter, Ashley."
Who's going to take care of Ashley? You know, Ashley needs her mother. She needs her father, too.
Then the police used subterfuge. The negotiator told Chino and Paula their phone wasn't secured, so the cops would send in one the media couldn't listen to.
When you get the phone, there's a button you have to press to talk, okay? If you don't press that button, I'm not going to be able to hear you.
Chino dragged in the wire connected to the phone. He didn't know the police had rigged it. There were 2 cameras inside, giving police 2 views of the crime as it unfolded.
Hello? Chino, could you hear me? You hear me? I hear you now.
Chino and Paula had no idea. The police could see and hear everything. They could see Chino holding the Mac 11, could see Paula walking into the room, hear their conversation.
I'm not giving myself home. Huh? I'm not giving myself home.
The hostage paced nervously around the apartment. For hours, the negotiator worked to persuade Chino and Paula to give up.
So once you come out, surrender, and this could be over.
He appealed to Paula, told her, "Let the hostage go."
We're not going to rush anybody. We want Isaac to come out, and we'll take a step at a time.
Repeatedly, Chino threatened to kill himself.
Let me know when you're in.
Paula seemed to have agreed to a suicide pact.
1, 2.
First, a passionate kiss. Then, in full view, the telephone secret camera. Chino held a gun to his chin. Out of frame, Paula was holding one, too. He counted, thinking Paula was with him. She did not pull the trigger.
Hey.
He did.
One shot. One shot.
Nestor Chino de Jesus, having botched an armed robbery and murdered Lois Marrero as she tried to do her duty, had killed himself. The hostage crawled out to safety. And Paula Gutierrez, his girlfriend and the mother of his 2-year-old daughter, gave herself up.
Put your hands up, put your hands on top of your head, and walk out the door.
About what happened, there seemed little in dispute. And certainly, something had to be done. Lois Marrero had been a loved police officer. She was young, just 40. Her family had been so relieved when she told them she was retiring in less than 2 years.
She was almost done. She was almost done.
For Brenda, the loss was staggering.
A part of me died. I didn't know what was left. It was horrible.
And now Paula was in custody. Paula, who was with Chino the whole time. He, of course, couldn't be charged with the crime. He was dead. But what came out next made a whole city wonder, would she pay? And should she?
Prosecutors say Paula should pay, that she was just as guilty as her boyfriend. And they find a powerful piece of evidence to prove it.
A very unique photograph of Paula Gutierrez. Posing with this semi-automatic with a camouflage shirt, a glamour shot.
When Deadly Alliance, our Dateline Court TV network exclusive, continues.
Sadly, arthritis pain can make people say goodbye to the little things they love, but not people who use Aleve. People whose doctors have told them the good news about Aleve. The good news that just 2 Aleve can stop arthritis pain all day. It would take 8 Tylenol to do that. Take back the pleasure arthritis pain took away. Ask your doctor about the good news. Ask your doctor about Aleve.
I just got vision from Sprint, and what I can't believe are the TV clips. I watch NBC Mobile on this thing constantly. Like now, I can watch the news right now, see?
Price per gallon dropped 4.5 cents. But crude oil prices are rebounding, very close to the...
Watching a guy on TV, watching TV. Now that's good TV.
Sprint PCS Vision services are easy and amazing things you'll really use. Get unlimited access to Sprint TV, music, pictures, web, video, and more for one low monthly fee. Sprint PCS, now that's better.
Introducing Orbit White. Brilliant. And its taste is overwhelmingly preferred. New Orbit White. A dazzling smile. No matter what.
Hi, honey. What's this?
I'm gonna get this for Mommy. This is enough, right?
It's more than enough.
Give Mom a Leo diamond crafted by the master diamond artisans at Leo Schachter and hand-selected to match beautifully by Kay.
I got it all by myself.
Every kiss begins with K.
Who's up for Outback? With call-ahead seating, just call up, get on the list, and satisfy your Outback craving faster.
When it comes to taking care of your carpet, choose your weapon wisely. Introducing Woolite Oxy Deep 2X, the only aerosol with double-barreled power. It begins removing stains instantly. And because it works all the way to the backing, they won't reappear. New from Woolite. Tough love for your carpet.
Cholesterol. It comes buttered, battered, basted, and roasted. But it also comes from Mom, Dad, Grandma Rose, and Grandpa Joe. Your cholesterol doesn't just come from food. It also has a lot to do with family history. Ask your doctor about Vytorin. A healthy diet is important, but when it's not enough, adding Vytorin can help. Vytorin treats the 2 sources of cholesterol, food and what your body makes naturally based on family history. Vytorin lowers bad cholesterol 45 to 60%. Vytorin is not for everyone, including people with liver problems, women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. Unexplained muscle pain or weakness could be a sign of a rare but serious side effect. Vytorin may interact with other medicines or certain foods, increasing your risk of getting this serious side effect. Simple blood tests are needed to check for liver problems. Continue to follow a healthy diet and ask your doctor about adding Vytorin. For the 2 sources of cholesterol, remember the name Vytorin. That's Vytorin.
We continue with Deadly Alliance.
Tampa has rarely seen an event as moving, as dramatic, as big as the funeral of police officer Lois Marrero. Thousands craned their necks to get a glimpse of the funeral procession.
Interstates shut down, streets in downtown Tampa shut down. The motorcade was, presidential in nature.
It was for this town, as if everybody's family member had been snatched away by the worst sort of evil. And perhaps that was true. But who would pay? Chino, the killer, was dead. But Paula Gutierrez, his 24-year-old girlfriend accomplice, was very much alive and had been talking.
Would you please identify yourself by your full name?
Paula Andrea Gutierrez.
Within hours of the bank robbery, the hostage standoff, the killing of Officer Marrero, Paula Gutierrez, recorded here on audio tape, had told investigators her story. As she explained it, her abusive boyfriend made her do these things.
You wanted to please him, so you did it, right?
I didn't want to do it. I never did anything like that.
Right, I understand.
She wanted to cooperate with police, she said. She didn't think she would be held responsible. How wrong she was.
Jury's entered the courtroom.
Paula Gutierrez was charged, not just with bank robbery, but with felony murder in the first degree for the killing of Officer Lois Marrero. At stake, a mandatory sentence of life in prison without parole, even though she didn't pull the trigger.
This case is the second time in my career where I've prosecuted someone that has killed a law enforcement officer as a principal. That is, was not the actual killer. What did you observe when
State Attorney Mark Ober was the lead prosecutor. To him, the law was clear.
If you participate in a robbery with someone that kills an individual, you are culpable for that crime as long as you knew that the robbery was taking place.
Culpable with a capital C because you get charged with first-degree murder.
Absolutely.
The evidence will show you that...
And so, in May 2003, in a crowded Tampa courtroom, Paula Gutierrez stared straight ahead as Jay Pruner, one of the prosecutors, began the case against her.
Evidence will be presented that she is, in fact, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the bank robbery, of the murder of Officer Lois Marrero.
It didn't take very long for the prosecution to lay out a damning case against Paula Gutierrez. She was no doormat of a woman who followed the orders of a criminal boyfriend, they claimed. She was as much to blame for what happened as he was. The law that made it a capital crime was straightforward. In the commission of an armed robbery, if one of them killed the police officer, both could be charged with first-degree murder.
She gave a lengthy interview to Detective Gene Black of the Tampa Police Department.
Did you stop anywhere on the way there or anything?
Remember that taped interrogation right after Paula was arrested? The prosecution played what sounded like incriminating excerpts in court. Here, they said, she admitted motive.
We woke up and, he was pissed off. He was like, we had $1, we had no gas, no food, no milk or anything, and he said, let's go.
Then the jury heard her admit she wasn't just a witness to Chino's robbery. She held the gun on customers while Chino robbed the tellers.
What weapons did you use?
Mac 11.
A Mac 11? Did you hold a Mac 11?
In the bank, he told me to hold it.
And sure enough, when they played the video in court, there she was. Remember, Paula insisted, Chino told her to do it. But the prosecution said he didn't even own the gun. She did.
I'm the manager and keeper of records at University Gun and Pawn in Tampa, Florida.
And what was the nature of your contact with Ms. Gutierrez?
It was on a Saturday. I was there in the shop.
Can you determine from the serial number whether in fact this is the same gun? And that you delivered to Miss Gutierrez that day?
90061-709. That is correct serial number.
But there was more, said the prosecutor. When police recovered a gym bag at the apartment complex where Lois Marrero was killed, they found a very interesting piece of evidence inside.
A throwaway disposable camera that contained a very unique photograph of Paula Gutierrez.
Doing what?
Posing with this Mac 11 sub-machine gun, as I call it, a semi-automatic with a camouflage shirt, as it was a glamour shot.
Look at her. She is radiant.
Naturally, jurors got a good look, and the prosecutor asked, does this look like a woman who had to be forced to hold the gun, her gun? Then, to try to show that Paula was actively involved in the bank robbery, prosecutors called a bank employee who testified Paula was right in there with Chino, giving orders to frighten customers.
The female voice was not as loud as the male, but it was straight to the point. I mean, no question asked, do as I say, get down, don't look up.
You didn't look up? Why not?
I was too scared to get shot.
Then, to make the case that the robbery was still underway when Lois Marrero was killed, the prosecution called a neighbor who encountered Paula at the Crossings apartment complex after the robbery.
Paula comes up the stairs and nervously asks if she can use my cell phone. Seconds later, Nestor runs up the stairs, frantically begging for my car keys. Then he snatched the car keys from my hands.
As long as the pair was still running from the robbery, argued the prosecution, Paula could be found guilty of felony murder.
The robbery had not concluded because there was not a break in those events. This look like the gun you saw?
Yes.
The neighbor described Lois Marrero's last terrifying moments before Nestor de Jesus, Chino, pulled the trigger.
Nestor reaches down towards his left hip, pulls out a weapon, and starts firing.
How many shots did you hear fired at that time?
5, 7 maybe. It was rapid fire.
Prosecutors played tapes of the hostage standoff. This, said the prosecution, showed Paula was a full partner in the events that day. Here, she refused to surrender.
You guys will come in here and beat us.
No, we're not.
And step on our necks.
You know, she told the detectives during the hostage negotiations, don't come in here. There'll be a shootout.
Look at this, said the prosecutor. A bit of video from that telephone camera showed she was supporting her man. Just as Chino is about to commit suicide, Paula, you can just barely see, kisses him passionately.
She is not this diminutive fixture that was being absolutely browbeaten by someone, because she made a lot of decisions.
You stay arrested, Mr. Bailey.
The prosecution was sure that the abundance of evidence would prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Paula Gutierrez was guilty of robbery. And if she was guilty of robbery, she would be legally responsible for Officer Marrero's death. But soon the jury would hear a very different explanation of events on that awful day. And of Paula herself. Irresponsible, even devilish villain? Or victim? There were surprises in store.
Drama in the court. Paula Gutierrez takes the stand. Can she convince the jury she was a battered woman afraid for her life?
He just kept telling me I want to kill you so bad, and I just wanted to just do it.
When Deadly Alliance continues.
Tonight, the trial by jury season finale.
You're a disgrace to me.
A forbidden love.
She deserved to die.
But this modern tragedy would make Romeo blush.
You killed Angelina because I loved her.
Pretty.
Especially for a guy.
The Law & Order Trial by Jury season finale, NBC Tonight.
Next week on Today, whoa, 3 concerts, 3 superstars. Dave Matthews Band, Faith Hill, Reba McEntire. We're rolling with great rock on Today.
Since my guy broke up with me, I fell in love with cable TV. Now I get movies on demand. There's just no competition. Gotta call 1-800-OK Cable. They got it all, 1-800-OK Cable.
We are lost.
You keep complaining.
I'm losing faith in your sense of direction.
We're on our way. Who's there? 6 girls? 6 girls.
Oh. Oh, great.
Break glass in case of adventure. We're in a Nissan Armada. Everyone can roll with us. We're going to the party now.
Can I please drive now? Nah, man. I'd love to drive the car.
The full-size Nissan Armada.
A mysterious murder in a popular county park at 11.
A woman on trial for murder, even though it was her boyfriend who pulled the trigger. Can she convince the jury she's not guilty? When Deadly Alliance continues.
Water that's more pure. Jet engines, trains, and power plants that run dramatically cleaner. At GE, we're using what we call eco-imagination to create technology that's right in step with nature. GE, imagination at work.
New Lean Pockets Ultra has only 12 net carbs, has only 6 grams of fat, has only 200 calories. And he,
thanks, hon,
has no idea. Introducing Lean Pockets Ultra, topped with whole grains. Ultra nutritious, ultra delicious.
Can inspiration change your mood? Can personal luxury, bold styling, and heavy power cost less than you'd expect and still turn heads? Easily. Introducing the 2005 Motor Trend Car of the Year, the Chrysler 300, starting at $24,100. Chrysler, inspiration comes standard.
I get so congested from my allergies that I feel like I'm not all there. So I got Clear with Claritin D.
Come on, you're on.
For long-lasting, non-drowsy relief of your worst congestion and sinus pressure, nothing is stronger or faster. Non-drowsy Claritin D. Live Claritin Clear.
And all the things I had in mind, you and me. We say something new, we say something new about you. About you.
We now return to Deadly Alliance. Here again is Stone Phillips.
Paula Gutierrez is accused of killing a police officer, even though it was her boyfriend who actually pulled the trigger. But prosecutors argued Gutierrez was a willing partner in crime, and therefore just as much to blame as he was. Now it's the defense's turn, and her lawyers will paint a completely different portrait of Paula Gutierrez, a terrified woman controlled by an abusive man. Here again, Keith Morrison.
Good morning, everybody.
The sad case of the bank robbery run afoul of the killing of Officer Lois Marrero was still a fresh memory in Tampa when the law focused in on Paula Gutierrez, and the prosecution's case against her seemed very strong. It was one of those cases that attracts a certain kind of defense attorney, like Deanne Athan.
I always like cases that are a challenge.
Besides, said the attorney, there was something about this girl.
What were your impressions of her?
She was scared. She was traumatized from what she'd been through. It was easy to want to help her.
But Athan had a big problem. If you take part in a robbery and your partner kills someone, you can be charged with first-degree murder. So first, Athan tried to make the case that Paula shouldn't have been charged with the killing at all because, she claimed, it wasn't connected to the robbery. The robbery itself, she maintained, was over by the time Officer Marrero was killed.
Paula, just before Lois Marrero was shot, was taking a shower in her home. She had reached her place of safety.
But that argument might be too technical to impress the jurors. She believed the jury needed to get to know the real Paula Gutierrez, to be convinced that she was an unwilling participant and, in fact, a victim of Chino's violent temper.
She was in a bad situation. She had many mental problems. She is a battered woman.
What Paula did, argued Athan, was not of her own free will. She'd never have taken part in those crimes, said the defense, if she hadn't been under intense duress the whole time. To make her case, the defense attorney called a parade of witnesses who testified they saw Chino beat Paula.
We went inside and he had her against the closet, choking her.
Who had who?
Chino had her against the closet.
Had who against the closet?
Paula.
Then the defense took the unavoidable risk. Athan put Paula herself on the stand to tell jurors how Chino had used violence and intimidation to control her ever since they met when she was 16.
Did you fall in love with him?
Yes.
So it was love at first sight?
You can say yes.
Okay.
But she was so young, and yes, irresponsible, and didn't understand what can happen when infatuation becomes something else.
He was so, like, possessive. He would tell me to look down. He thought there was a guy looking at me. He would, go to them and start a, argument, or sometimes he would, punch him.
As the defense saw it, Paula needed the jury to empathize with her constant fear, understand how she felt. He was violent, she told the jurors, erratic, possessive, threatening.
He's like, I'm going to kill you if you don't want to be with me, and he just kept repeating that.
5 years after they met, she got pregnant, and things improved, she said, but not for long.
About 3 or 4 months, he starts showing. He starts getting angry.
How?
He just grabs me, from my neck again.
Grabbed you how?
Like this. He just cursing at me a lot. You bitch. Telling me that if I wasn't pregnant, that he was going to kill me. But I'm lucky that I was pregnant because that's the only thing that was saving me, was the baby.
He grabbed you by the shoulders?
By my shoulders, and he threw me against the wall.
Okay.
And then he took the knife and he put it against my belly.
So, her own lawyer asked her, why didn't she leave him?
He said that he would find me and he would kill me. I just remember his face. He clenches his teeth when he's real pissed off. He just kept telling me, I want to kill you so bad. But sometimes I would tell him, just do it. Do it. I just wanted to just do it. And then he said no, because if I would kill you, I would have to kill your family too.
Then, to prove how threatening Chino's behavior had become, the defense had Paula testify about a strange picture she said Chino gave her of himself as the devil. He put their daughter, barely visible, at the bottom of the flames.
He saw this in a magazine.
He saw what in the magazine?
Well, the body and the flames. He ripped it out. He said, oh, I'm going to work on this.
And what's that image on the very bottom?
It's my daughter.
Right here?
Yes.
That's your daughter in the flames?
In April 2001, 3 months before the robbery, Paula sought help for what was deemed anxiety at a Tampa emergency room. Doctors told her nothing physical was wrong. But, according to a psychiatrist called as a defense expert, there was something very wrong with Paula. Post-traumatic stress disorder and serious depression, he said.
As the disorder continued and worsened, her ability to be free and clear about her choices of behavior diminished progressively.
And because of all that, claimed the defense, Paula was a beaten woman who was incapable of leaving the situation or defying her boyfriend's criminal wishes. But what about that damaging video from the bank robbery that shows her holding the gun? Paula testified she was trying to keep herself and others safe from her boyfriend.
You've heard people say that they heard you say something like, keep your heads down. Why'd you do that?
Because when Chino was there, he kept screaming, telling the people, keep your head down. And I noticed that some people were looking up. And I wanted them to keep their heads down because, if he sees that, he's going to get real mad.
But remember, it was Paula who bought the gun used in the robbery. Didn't that show she was at least an equal partner? Under defense questioning, a second gun shop employee said, maybe not.
They appeared to be discussing the purchase of the weapon, and you had the obvious sensation of being around him that he was in charge of the situation, but she was the actual buyer.
Why? Because, claimed the defense, Chino had a criminal record. He told Paula he couldn't buy a gun, so he made her do it. That mock gorilla pose in the photo, that was Chino's idea too, said Paula. And to prove that Chino bullied Paula, the defense called a surprising witness, a cop, who said he had a clear view of the two of them during the standoff. He said he saw Chino use Paula as a human shield to protect himself from the police who were firing at him.
He looks at me, and I believe he realizes I'm going to shoot him.
What did he do?
He grabbed the female around the throat.
How?
Grabbed her like this. And he held her between him and myself.
Was she saying anything?
She was screaming.
It was a long chain of coercion, said the defense, which ended in slow-motion horror.
Officer Morrell shows up, and she has her gun drawn, and she starts, put your gun down or I'm going to shoot. And she said that a few times. Chino shot her 2 or 3 times. And she looked at me. I looked at her. And she's just looking at me like, why? Why are you doing it? This is her face. I knew she was dead.
And how were you feeling?
I was in shock. It was just me and Officer Morrell. It was just so slow.
The defense psychiatrist testified that Paula's description of the shooting happening in slow motion was a classic symptom of post-traumatic stress disorder, and then claimed the defense this beaten, abused woman was further victimized by the police. Remember that taped interrogation? After police told her she had the right to an attorney, Paula seems to be asking for a lawyer, said the defense. But listen to the police response.
You have a lawyer here?
No, we don't have one here. That's the only problem.
He was right. There wasn't a public defender in the building, but, said her defense attorney, the detective didn't tell Paula there was one a 2-minute walk away. And Paula just caves.
Okay, I'll go with it.
You want to talk to us? Okay.
Exactly, said the defense, what an abused woman would do, and then allow herself to be led into trap after trap.
Well, if you really listen to it, she would say things like, I was scared. And he would say, you were scared because robbing a bank is a scary thing, right? And then she would agree, yes.
Brutalized by her man, taken advantage of by police, said the defense, and demonized in court. Was this young woman really responsible for Officer Lois Marrero's death? The defense case looked much stronger now. And then, when almost no one expected such a thing could happen, a remarkable piece of evidence was allowed into the trial. And now, all bets were off.
What did the prosecution reveal? What was the secret in Paula's past?
She participated in that, yet she claims she was under duress.
When Deadly Alliance, our Dateline Court TV network exclusive, continues.
Next, an NBC event.
The precinct is under attack! Repeat, the precinct is under attack!
The biggest third watch ever filmed.
Sasha?
And they saved it for the very last episode.
In the city of heroes.
The original cast reunites to say goodbye. Third watch, the final episode. NBC Next. Wednesday, an incredible story as intriguing as the Da Vinci Code, but real. A man's murder with ties to the Vatican. Then the phenomenon revelations. The end draws near.
Get out!
In the most intense chapter yet.
I would gladly give my life.
And on Law & Order, a deadly fire uncovers the answer to a 9-year-old murder.
God works in mysterious ways.
Secrets in the Vatican, Revelations, and Law & Order. All new NBC Wednesday.
So, Verizon says their DSL is now faster than ever, but Optimum Online's more than triple the speed of Verizon DSL. So compared to Optimum Online, what does DSL really mean? Digital slower line? Depressingly snail-like? Or, darn, I'm still using a telephone line. Whatever it means, DSL just isn't in the same league as Optimum Online, no matter what they say. So call today and see why the readers of PC Magazine rated Optimum Online the #1 high-speed internet access in the nation.
We've given it the longest wheelbase in its class. unsurpassed rear headroom, and a multimedia entertainment system. All of which begs the question, can you resist? Introducing the all-new long wheelbase Jaguar XJ. Visit your local Jaguar retailer today.
Now that they're married, Laura and Tim have some decisions to make.
Okay, whose bank?
My checking account's free.
Well, so is mine. But Wachovia gives us free online bill pay. We get a free check card, which can earn reward points, and we can use over 5,000 ATMs.
Okay. Wachovia.
Definitely.
Now, what goes there?
At least choosing a checking account was easy. Switch to extra free checking. Wachovia.
Tracking the storm. More on the weekend forecast at 11.
Deadly Alliance continues.
We're almost done.
For defense attorney Deanne Athan, what happened in the last act of the trial of Paula Gutierrez was like a punch in the solar plexus. And while the jury was out of the courtroom, she told the judge exactly how she felt about it.
I might as well pack up and go home. Because this jury is going to go, wow, what is this about? You know,
Near the end of the defense's case, the judge decided to admit an explosive piece of evidence. Just 3 days before Lois Marrero was killed, Chino and Paula robbed a flower shop at gunpoint.
So I turned my back. The moment I turned my back, he told me, now get down on your knee.
Did you get down on your knees?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Because, I mean, you know, he scared me, and in the moment, I mean, like 2 minutes after later, I turned my back. He put black hat, black glasses, and he has the gun in his hand.
They took $45, contents of her purse. They ignored the cash register. So it wasn't just one robbery. They had committed 2. And Paula was there both times.
She was an able participant, yet she claims during the course of her trial on the bank robbery that she was under duress.
So the defense had no choice but to put Paula back on the stand, to say that duress wasn't just a one-time problem. Just like the bank robbery, Paula was doing exactly what her boyfriend told her to do, to avoid getting hurt.
Did it occur to you to say, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm leaving, get out of here, I'm running away, anything like that?
No.
And why was that?
Because I'm afraid of the situation. You know, I don't want to be there, but I'd rather do what he says instead of getting him really pissed off, and then there's going to be more trouble.
But wait a minute, said the prosecutor. This surely was a defining moment when Paula could and should have simply left.
You don't call your parents up and say, get me out of here. He's doing robberies now.
No.
And you knew that your parents would have been there for you in a heartbeat. If you would have said, I want out of here, take me home. They would have done that for you. You knew that, right?
They would have, but that wasn't an option.
Or was it? Would the jury remember how prosecutors questioned Paula's story earlier in the trial? How, when she blamed so much on Chino, they got her to admit she wasn't exactly an angel herself. Under cross-examination, Paula had to admit her behavior was out of control before she ever met Chino.
Your parents showed you love and affection, correct?
Yes.
You weren't abused by them, were you?
No.
You broke their rules. You ran away from home before you met Nestor de Jesus. You got pregnant before you met Nestor de Jesus. And each of these acts were conscious choices that you, Paula Gutierrez, made before you ever met Nestor de Jesus. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And so, Prosecutor Jay Pruner began his closing with an appeal to the jury. Do not be fooled by this woman.
Listen and look at the images and the words of Paula Gutierrez, not filtered through the eyes or the lens of any psychiatrist, but through your own ears and common sense.
Paula was no abused woman, not a slave to her disturbed boyfriend's demands.
There is only one conclusion that can be reached. That conclusion is that the defendant is guilty as charged as to each of these 3 crimes.
Defense attorney Athan, still smarting from the flower shop ruling, had one last chance.
He threatened her by looks, by tone, by action every day of her life. She made decisions because she believed the threatened harm of Nestor de Jesus was real, imminent, and impending. I tell you now without hesitating that if you follow the law, she is not guilty.
And then it was their turn. 8 members of the jury sat down with Dateline, 2 men and 6 women. They told us all of them had felt enormous pressure in there.
The hardest thing was just knowing the gravity of the entire situation. You don't want to be wrong.
And in this case, of all cases, judgment about character was paramount.
My first impression is here is supposed to be a bank robber, a police officer killed, and I'm thinking, this little girl, it didn't seem like she could do such a thing.
Then they saw the picture police found undeveloped in Paula and Chino's camera, and she looked gleeful, posing with the gun.
Well, it was a different view of her, and I don't think she was forced into posing for that picture.
Nor, they said, was Paula forced to plant that passionate kiss on Chino just before he killed himself.
You could watch a little bit of the relationship there. It seemed more of a partnership than the way they were trying to present it being, him being more forceful.
As the trial went on, opinions began to diverge.
There were times when I was thinking that probably she's under duress and innocent.
And I think that they both were hot-tempered, and I think they played off each other.
So, a victim or a willing accomplice?
He was a beater, and maybe she was afraid of him, and maybe she did do what he told her to do.
I tried to put myself in her position. Now, at any moment after he shot the officer, she could have said, you know, stop this craziness, just stop it now, but she didn't, you know. She reached down and took that gun, and that's not duress to me.
One thing they agreed from the start, there would have to be some penalty for Paula. The actual sentence wasn't theirs to decide, only the name of the crime. So, was it felony murder in the first degree, or a lesser charge?
Should she be punished? Yes. Should she spend the rest of her life in prison? You know, I don't know about that. You know, she wasn't the one that pulled the trigger.
And I kept flip-flopping myself onto whether she was or was not guilty and how the laws were being applied.
By the end of day 1, uncertain and tired, they did not have a verdict.
There were 2 groups, and it was the I don't knows that had to sleep on it and discuss it again in the morning.
Then, as day 2 began, it seemed much clearer. They voted and sent word. They were ready.
Everybody was just waiting for what we had to say. It was very nerve-wracking.
Paula Gutierrez sat with her attorney. The next few moments would determine whether or not she paid the price for a murder, even though she never fired the gun.
Coming up next week on Today, 3 superstars, 3 super concerts, the Dave Matthews Band, Faith Hill, and Reba McEntire. Plus, live in our studio, Will Ferrell, kicking and screaming. And don't forget our special series, Live for Today, where each day we make a dream come true. Next week on Today.
Jessica Simpson. Her singing career didn't hit the high notes till her reality show hit the air.
Is this chicken what I have, or is this fish?
Newlyweds brought her endorsement deals and a big movie role. So is she clueless or a genius?
We call it dumb like a fox.
Behind her, her deal-making dad.
Joe Simpson is, I want it for my daughter right now.
How far will they go?
I met the Simpsons early in their quest to take over the world.
An inside look at the Simpsons on Dateline Sunday. And next, she didn't pull. Is Paula to blame? What will the jury say?
Has the jury reached a verdict? Would you hand it to the bailiff, please?
When Deadly Alliance continues.
I remember this card. We gave it to you for Mother's Day. I think you cried. I got this card the day you were born. Hey, this one's pretty. It looks kind of mushy. Mom, who's your snuggly buggly boo?
This Mother's Day, save all your memories with the Hallmark Card Keeper. Just $7.95 when you buy 3 cards. Only at Hallmark Gold Crown stores.
Jack, come on, you're almost there.
I can't.
Don't look down, look into my eyes. We're almost there, come on. Okay, come on.
Yeah, looks like you guys are ready to climb.
Somewhere between the helicopter tour, deep sea fishing, and the rock wall, it hits you. This is way more than a cruise. See for yourself at RoyalCaribbean.com and get out there.
Men Will Melt. Provocative Woman. A fragrance by Elizabeth Arden.
Hey, Angie. Going to the post office?
Post office?
Angie, post office, 3 seconds.
No matter how many packages you need to send, you don't have to go to the post office. Just log on to USPS.com. Pay postage, get insurance, print labels, and we'll pick them up for free.
I'm at the post office.
Just one more way the U.S. Postal Service is working for you.
My doctor said I needed fiber, but Metamucil is thick and gritty. My doctor said I should take Benefiber. Benefiber has just as much fiber and never gets thick or gritty. Ask your doctor about Benefiber. For me, the choice is clear.
Edgar, that you take the voice of this lovely woman, Mrs. Trump, and put it into this damn... Why? To tell the world the benefits of Aflac with sex appeal. Brilliant, sir! I know. Now throw the switch.
If you're hurt and can't work, Aflac can help pay your bills with cash.
Genius! And her? Aflac!
Make Mom feel like $1 million without breaking the bank with a gift from Kohl's Mother's Day sale. If fashion is Mom's thing, we've got great looks from brands including Daisy Fuentes and Apartment 9. If she's into accessories, we've got the latest handbags, watches, and jewelry on sale. Plus, you'll get a $10 reward for every $50 you spend. Remember, the perfect gift for Mom is at Kohl's Mother's Day sale. Kohl's. Expect great things.
Tonight, you're a disgrace to me. A forbidden love that ends with murder.
Pretty.
Especially for a guy. The Trial by Jury season finale, NBC tonight.
The boss is headed to Churchill Downs. George Steinbrenner and his prized Bellamy Road run for the roses. The Visa Triple Crown starts with a Kentucky Derby, Saturday, 5 Eastern, NBC.
Did you ever hear of a drug deal gone good? Make a deal to talk with your kids about drug and alcohol abuse now.
And now the conclusion to Deadly Alliance on Dateline with Stone Phillips.
In Tampa, Florida, the ripples generated by one disturbed man's horrific idea for fundraising had spread far beyond his sad little world. Nestor Chino de Jesus had become famous in death. And now the family of his victim gathered in court, hoping for something like justice. The woman who was with him and her family waited to see if she would pay the price.
Or second-degree murder or manslaughter.
Lawyers fought to keep a stoic face.
Or whether
I think it would be an understatement to say that everybody was very anxious.
You pray, you make deals with God, you know.
And as the jury waited to hear its verdict read in court, they understood the drama of the moment all too well.
It was very tense. I mean, all eyes were on us, all the cameras were on us, and everybody was just waiting.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes,
Would you hand it to the bailiff, please, ma'am?
It was electric in here. It had been 2 years since Officer Lois Marrero's highly publicized death, and it seemed like the whole city was watching and wondering, what would the 12 jurors say?
Would the jury find as follows as to count one of the indictment in this case? The defendant is guilty of felony murder, first degree, as charged. The defendant is guilty of robbery with a firearm, actually possessing firearm.
Guilty as charged. Paula Gutierrez put her head in her hands and wept. Paula's mother screamed.
There was one scream that just came so much from the gut. I just remember that was, I guess, when it really hit, when you heard that, how much pain that was going to happen from the decision.
Still living with that a little bit, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Brenda Marrero, whose sister Lois was killed, watched the verdict and felt justice? No, she told us. Maybe real justice simply wasn't possible.
And when you heard the word guilty, what were your feelings?
She got what she deserved. My heart broke for her family and for her daughter.
Justice was served.
I'm not sure justice was served. I believe she is where she belongs.
What do you say, I'm not sure justice was served?
My sister shouldn't be dead because a part of us was killed when Lois was killed.
We've come to a conclusion.
Even prosecutor Mark Ober was subdued.
We lost a career law enforcement officer. There's a young woman whose life, for the most part, is all over. And the scars we bear on both sides will last a lifetime.
It's the judgment order in the sentence of the court.
And at the hearing 1 month later, the judge handed down a mandatory sentence. Life in prison, no parole. Someone was finally going to pay for Officer Marrero's death.
Was justice served?
No. No. Even if Paula deserved to be punished, I don't think many people will agree that she deserves to spend the rest of her natural life in prison. And what that means is that she will die in prison.
Will you appeal?
Oh, absolutely.
After some time passed, we took the drive out to the rural prison where Paula Gutierrez is serving her life sentence. We wondered if she might admit now in retrospect to a slightly more active role in Chino's crimes, at least than she admitted in court. We also wondered how she felt about that awful day in July when Officer Lois Marrero went down.
Did you see her face?
Oh, yeah. She was petrified. She was scared. She didn't take her look off me.
How often does it play back in your mind?
It's just like a over and over recorded, just playing over and over again. But now, you know, I try not to think about it.
You got a lot to block out.
It's like a nightmare.
And then we reminded Paula of the law. If you take part in a robbery and someone is killed, that makes you a murderer.
What do you want to do when people say you're a murderer?
I'm not a murderer. I know who I am. I was in an abusive relationship. I feared this man. I know it was wrong, you know what I'm saying? But the fear that I felt for him, I didn't think about, you know, the consequences of going to jail, prison. I didn't think about that. What I thought was going home and he was going to kill me, he was going to kick my butt, you know? That's what I thought.
Still, you know, you talk to the policemen, to the prosecutors, and they don't see it that way. They see a lot of people who are in jail who say, well, I don't belong here. I'm not a killer. I'm not a murderer. But, you know, they're there for a reason.
I'm not going to harm anybody. Chino's gone. He's dead. You know, I'm free. Paula's gone, you know?
That person, the old Paula, she says, was depressed, abused, and weak. Strange that here, serving a life sentence in prison, she would finally feel free.
This place has also been a place of healing. I've healed. I've learned Paula, found myself again. It's a blessing in disguise, in a way.
And every day in Tampa, Brenda Marrero wakes up without the sister she idolized and wonders if the grief will ever go away.
Paula Gutierrez is appealing her conviction. Next week, Brenda Marrero will honor the memory of her sister, Officer Lois Marrero, by joining a 250-mile bike ride to raise money for the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington. She'll be riding her sister's bike. That's all for this edition of Dateline Friday. We'll see you again for Dateline Sunday at 7, 6 Central. I'm Stone Phillips, and for all of us at NBC News, good night.
For a transcript of tonight's broadcast or to purchase a video segment, call 1-866-NBC-TAPE.
Monday, the debate over teaching evolution in American classrooms, plus ovarian cancer, an early detection breakthrough. NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams Monday.
Now the original cast reunites to say goodbye. Third watch, the final episode. NBC Next.